I want to ask you something before we go anywhere else. You have spent time researching XRP. You have watched the regulatory developments. You understand the thesis. You may have accumulated a meaningful position. But here is the question that most XRP holders never fully answer for themselves until it is too late. What happens to everything you have built if the exchange you are storing it on disappears overnight? I'm not being dramatic. I am reading from the headline of February 21st of 2025. $1.5 billion stolen from Bybit in a single attack. Not a small exchange, not an obscure platform. Bybit was the world's second largest cryptocurrency exchange by trading volume. 330,000 users, institutional-grade security, multi-signature cold wallets, and in a matter of hours, 401,000 Ethereum vanished, attributed to North Korean state-sponsored hackers who had spent 4 days compromising a third-party wallet interface before deploying their attack. That single hack accounted for 44% of all cryptocurrency stolen across the entire year of 2025. And then there is FTX, $8.9 billion in customer funds wiped out, not stolen by external hackers, misused by the people running the platform. Billions in XRP held on that exchange when it collapsed were frozen in bankruptcy proceedings for months. People who had been holding XRP for years, who had done everything right in terms of buying and research and patience, lost access to their holdings overnight because they had trusted a third party with the keys. Crypto hacks in 2025 totaled approximately $3.4 billion across roughly 200 security incidents, according to Chainalysis. The average loss per incident more than doubled year over year to nearly $15 million per event as attackers shifted from low-value opportunistic attacks to targeted strikes on high-value centralized platforms. 22 incidents involving centralized exchanges produced $1.809 billion in losses. The North Korean Lazarus Group alone stole over $2 billion in 2025, more than their entire 2024 haul. Here is the phrase that the crypto security industry has been repeating for 14 years and that most holders have still not fully internalized. Not your keys, not your crypto. Every XRP you hold on a centralized exchange is not technically yours. It is an IOU from that exchange. You hold a claim on XRP. You do not hold XRP. The distinction is legal and operational. If the exchange freezes withdrawals, your claim is frozen. If the exchange is hacked, your claim may be stolen. If the exchange declares insolvency, your claim goes into a bankruptcy queue alongside every other creditor. The XRP itself may still exist on the blockchain, but your access to it depends entirely on whether the exchange remains solvent, operational, and on your side. 30% of the total XRP supply is now held in offline wallets, according to Dune Analytics data. Crypto whales, the largest holders with the most to lose, overwhelmingly prefer hardware wallet solutions for long-term storage. That is not a coincidence. The people with the most XRP understand exactly why this matters, and they have structured their holdings accordingly. So let us talk about what protecting your XRP actually looks like in practice, step by step, no jargon, just the actual framework. The first concept you need to understand is the difference between a custodial wallet and a non-custodial wallet. A custodial wallet is any wallet where someone else holds the keys. Every exchange account is a custodial wallet. Coinbase holds your keys. Kraken holds your keys. Upbit holds your keys. They give you access to a dashboard that shows your balance, but the private key that controls those funds belongs to them. A non-custodial wallet is any wallet where you hold the keys. You are the sole person who can authorize a transaction. Nobody else can move your XRP without your private key or seed phrase. This is the fundamental distinction, and everything else in crypto security flows from it. The second concept is the difference between a hot wallet and a cold wallet. A hot wallet is any wallet that is connected to the internet, whether it's an exchange account, a browser extension wallet, or a software wallet on your phone. Hot wallets are convenient for regular use, but they have an attack surface, meaning there are ways for a sufficiently motivated attacker to reach them through the internet. A cold wallet is any wallet that is completely offline. The private key is generated on a device that has never connected to the internet and never will. This eliminates the remote attack vector entirely. You cannot hack what you cannot reach. The gold standard for protecting meaningful XRP holdings is a hardware wallet. A hardware wallet is a physical device, typically about the size of a USB drive, that generates and stores your private keys inside a secure element chip. The chip is specifically designed to resist physical extraction of the key material. Ledger uses a CCEAL5+ certified secure element. Trezor uses open-source firmware that the entire security community can audit. Both fully support XRP as of 2026. Here is how a hardware wallet works in practice. When you want to send XRP, you connect the device to your computer or phone. The transaction details are sent to the device. You physically verify the transaction on the device's screen, specifically the address and the amount. You confirm with a physical button press. The private key never leaves the device. It never touches the internet. Even if your computer is infected with malware, the malware cannot forge the physical button confirmation. This is categorically different from every software-based wallet, where the private key either lives on your connected device or is managed by a third party. The critical piece that most people misunderstand about hardware wallets is this. The device itself is not your backup. Your seed phrase is your backup. When you set up a hardware wallet, it generates a 24-word recovery phrase, sometimes called a mnemonic. These 24 words in the correct order can reconstruct your private key on any compatible device. Your XRP is ultimately controlled by those 24 words. This means the seed phrase must be protected with the same seriousness you would apply to the XRP itself. Here is what you must never do with your seed phrase. Never photograph it, never type it into any digital device, never store it in cloud services, email, notes apps, or anywhere connected to a network. Never enter it into any website or app ever, for any reason. Anyone who asks you to enter your seed phrase anywhere is attempting to steal your XRP. This includes fake support agents, fake wallet apps, fake Ledger or Trezor websites, and fake recovery tools. The only legitimate use of your seed phrase is physically entering it into a hardware wallet device during recovery. Here is what you should do with your seed phrase. Write it by hand on paper, clearly and legibly, and verify you have written every word correctly in order. Store that paper in a physically secure location, specifically somewhere fire-resistant, waterproof, and not easily discovered. Serious long-term holders use steel backup plates, which are metal cards or cylinders where you stamp or engrave your seed phrase words. Steel does not burn in house fires, does not degrade over time, and does not dissolve in water. For holdings that represent meaningful life savings, a steel backup is not excessive, it is simply appropriate to the size of what you are protecting. Store backups in multiple physical locations. If your only seed phrase backup is in your house and your house burns down or is robbed, you have lost everything. Consider a trusted family member's house, a safety deposit box, or a secure off-site location. The geographic distribution of your backup is insurance against physical disaster. Now let's talk about one of the most XRP-specific security details that catches holders off guard. The XRP ledger uses destination tags for certain transfers. When you send XRP to some exchanges or wallets, they require you to include a destination tag, a numeric code that identifies your specific account on the receiving platform. If you send XRP to an exchange that requires a destination tag without including the correct one, your XRP may not be credited to your account, and recovering it can be extremely difficult or impossible, depending on the exchange's policies. Before any XRP transfer, always confirm whether the destination address requires a tag, copy the tag exactly as provided, and double-check both the address and the tag before confirming the transaction. The setup process for a hardware wallet takes approximately 15 minutes from unboxing to completed configuration. Here is the sequence. Purchase your device only from the official manufacturer's website or an authorized retailer. Never buy a hardware wallet from Amazon third-party sellers, second-hand marketplaces, or unofficial sources. A compromised device can be pre-configured with a known seed phrase, allowing the attacker to drain your funds the moment you transfer assets to it. Inspect the packaging before opening. If the tamper-evident seal is broken or appears to have been resealed, return the device immediately. When setting up the device, generate your seed phrase on the device itself, following the manufacturer's instructions. Never let anyone else watch during setup. Write down your 24 words as they appear on the device screen. Verify them when prompted. Then install the XRP application on the device through the manufacturer's official software. Create your XRP wallet address using that application. Transfer a small test amount first, confirm it arrives correctly, confirm you can see it in your wallet software, and then proceed with transferring the remainder of your holdings. After setup, store the device itself in a reasonably secure location, but understand that the device is less important than the seed phrase. A lost or broken device can be replaced and your XRP fully recovered using the seed phrase on a new device. A lost seed phrase with no backup means your XRP is permanently inaccessible. Let me address the most common objection people raise to cold storage. It is too complicated. What if I lose the device? What if I forget how it works? Here is the honest answer. The complication is a one-time 15-minute setup process. After that, you simply verify transactions on the device screen. The risk of losing the device is entirely mitigated by your seed phrase backup, which allows full recovery on a new device. Forgetting how it works is addressed by the fact that hardware wallet interfaces are designed to be intuitive, and the manufacturers maintain comprehensive documentation. The complication of self-custody is far smaller than the complication of recovering from an exchange hack or bankruptcy. For XRP holders specifically, there is also the XRP Ledger's native escrow functionality, which allows you to lock XRP until a specific time or condition is met. This is used institutionally by Ripple itself to manage its own supply releases through the on-ledger escrow mechanism. For individual holders thinking about protecting position for a defined time horizon, on-ledger escrow through a non-custodial wallet provides an additional layer of protection against impulsive selling or unauthorized movement. The broader picture is this. You spent time and energy building an XRP position because you believe in the thesis. You have watched the regulatory developments in Hong Kong and Japan. You have tracked the G Treasury acquisition, the RLUSD launch, the commodity classification, the CME futures. You understand why the infrastructure case is compelling, but none of that matters if your access to your XRP depends entirely on the continued operation, solvency, and goodwill of a centralized exchange. $3.4 billion stolen from crypto in 2025, $1.5 billion in a single attack on the world's second-largest exchange, $8.9 billion locked in FTX bankruptcy. The people who lost money in those events were not stupid, they were not reckless, they simply had not taken the 15 minutes required to move their assets from someone else's custody into their own. The thesis on XRP requires patience through volatility. It requires conviction during extreme fear. It requires holding through price cycles that last years. None of that is possible if your XRP disappears from an exchange while you are waiting for the move. Protect your position with the same seriousness that you have built it. Not your keys, not your crypto. If this video gave you the framework to do what you have probably been putting off, hit the like button right now. That is genuinely how this reaches the people who are still holding on exchanges right now, hoping nothing goes wrong before the move. Subscribe if you want security updates, regulatory developments, and XRP ecosystem news broken down the moment it matters. Because the next major exchange security event is not a question of if, it is a question of when, and whether you are positioned for it. Here's your comment question. Are you currently in cold storage, in hot wallet, or still on an exchange? Drop it below honestly. This community needs to have that conversation. And if you know someone holding significant XRP on an exchange right now, send them this video today, because the 15 minutes it takes to set up a hardware wallet is the most important 15 minutes they will spend protecting what they have already built. Stay safe, stay sovereign. Your keys, your crypto.